Today, we're diving into one of the super exciting and essential parts of Rhino, the display settings and material creation. By learning this section, you can show off your models in a way that's way more professional and realistic, and your projects will look so much better. So, let's get started. Hey there, I'm Hussein, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to dive right into display modes and check out each and every one of those settings. After that, we'll shift gears to materials, and I'll show you how to create materials and apply them to models. I've marked all the sections in the timeline, so if you want, you can jump straight to the part you're interested in. So let's get started. Let's dive right into display mode and the settings, yeah? First up, we've got rendered mode. So rendered mode is kind of like your go-to for showcasing and previewing models with light and shadow. You know, it's super close to how the final render is going to look. Now, let's talk settings, shall we? General settings in rendered mode. Okay, so background. You've got the color of the background or the environment where your model is displayed, right? You can totally go for a solid color, a gradient, or even environment HDRI. It really makes a difference. Like, it directly impacts the readability and visual quality of your model. Okay, so let's talk about shadows, right? So controlling whether the shadows are on or off, that's a big deal. When you have the shadows on, it makes the model look like way more realistic, but it does pump up the GPU usage, you know? Now, moving on to surface ISO curves. These are like helper lines on the surface that show you the geometric structure. Super useful for checking the quality of the surface and the topology, like really. And if you turn them off, it makes the model look cleaner, which is nice, right? And then there's surface edge. This shows the outer edges of the surface, which is really handy for readability when you're editing or presenting the model. Oh, and we can't forget about sub-D wires. It shows the sub-D mesh wires. And if you're working on a sub-D model, you absolutely need to see this to keep track of all the changes. Okay, so like sub-D creases, right? They show you where like the sharp edges or breaks are, you know, super important for controlling those details and defining the form. I mean, if you want it to look all nice and sharp, you've got to pay attention to that, right? And then we've got sub-D boundaries. Those are like the open edges or free edges in sub-D. If your model's like left open or has holes, this is where it totally shows up, you know? Now let's talk about sub-D symmetry. It displays the axis or symmetry lines of sub-D, which is like super helpful for mirror modeling. I mean, who doesn't love a good mirror effect, right? And mesh wires. They show the mesh lines when you're working with mesh, and it's just perfect for checking the mesh density or like when you're getting ready to 3D print. Okay, so curves, right? It's all about controlling the display of those curves, those lines, you know? If the environment is super busy, just turning them off can really help clear your view. I mean, who doesn't want a better line of sight, right? Now, onto lights. You can like switch on and off the existing lights in your project, and get this, it has the most impact on the rendered mode. Seriously, it changes everything. And then there are clipping planes. These are the planes that like cut through your view for section visualization. They're perfect for checking out what's going on inside your models. So handy. We've got text. It's all about controlling the display of text objects. They come in super useful in plans or annotations, you know, just makes everything clearer. So like, let's talk about the annotations, right? You know, controlling the display dimensions and notes, super important for industrial presentations, like seriously. And then points and point clouds. So displaying those points and point clouds. If you've got a point cloud scan, oh my gosh, this option makes your life so much easier, you know? Now, grid and axis settings, like you can show or hide the grid and the XYZ axes. It's really helpful for modeling and layout, but like when it comes to rendering, it's probably better to switch it off, just saying. All right, so like we're diving into the render settings, right? You can totally access this section through the options panel or, by clicking on that little icon you saw in the image. Now, about the grid, we've got all the settings related to the grid here. Like you can choose to display the grid or show the axes or even the world axes that we mentioned earlier. And get this, you can customize the size right here in this section. Isn't that wild? Plus, you can tweak how it looks and how it's positioned too. All right, so let's dive into the shadows. Yeah? So, first up, we've got the video memory usage and shadow size. It's all about the size and quality of those shadow textures. The bigger they are, the more detail you get in those shadows. Oh, and just a heads up, it's going to take up more GPU power. Next, let's chat about skylight shadow quality. This one's crucial, right? It directly impacts how natural the lighting feels and boosts that sense of realism. And then there's soft edge quality. We're talking about how soft those shadow edges are. You get more natural looking shadows, but oh boy, they can be a bit heavier on processing. Edge blurring. It's all about controlling the blur on the edges of shadows, right? Perfect for ambient lighting or like simulating an outdoor vibe, you know what I mean? Then there's self-shadowing artifacts. This one's super important. You want to reduce noise and those pesky artifacts in the shadows that like the object cast on itself. If you're seeing any noisy spots, definitely tweak this setting. Now, moving on to transparent objects, it's all about how shadows work with see-through stuff. When you turn this on, you get way more accurate rendering for glass or water, but heads up, it does use more GPU power. So like, keep that in mind. Next up is the camera-based clipping bubble. This little gem prevents shadows that are like super far away from being shown based on where the camera is. Up to this point in the video, the main idea is this. With the right control of your display settings, you can showcase your models in a way that looks super professional, almost like a final render, even without actually rendering them. Now, before we dive into the modes, there's this crucial point, okay? In this very section of display options, you can totally customize the display of every type of element, like, seriously. We're talking about line width, colors, display scale, style, transparency, patterns, like dashed or continuous. For example, if you want those edge lines to pop out more in rendered mode, you can totally crank up the thickness. Or if you're dealing with a ton of points on your model, just shrink their size a bit and you'll get a much clearer view. Okay, so these little controls, right, they help you, like while you're modeling, to have this super clean, precise, and readable view. Now let's dive into the other modes and some key points for each one. Each mode has its own unique and shared settings, and I'll just run through them really quickly so this video doesn't get too long. First up, we've got this technical style, right? It's all about that clean, sharp look, lines that are super clear, bold edges, no shadows at all, perfect for those 2D drawings and technical presentations. Features? Oh, let me tell you, clear lines, bold edges, just popping out at you. Strong silhouette, you can't miss it. And oh, absolutely no texture, just pure simple lines. Applications? Think architecture, technical documentation, and diagrams, my friend. Now, moving on to the shaded style. This one's like super straightforward, right? You've got your base color and basic lighting. It's really handy for general modeling and especially for form shaping. Features here include the main object color, just flaunting its true self. Simple shading, keeping it chill. And oh man, it's fast. Like, who doesn't love speed? So like, we're talking about pen here, right? It's kind of like this blend of technical and artistic vibes. It really gives off that pen drawing aesthetic, bold lines, soft hatching. It's visually striking. So the applications, well, it's perfect for quick presentations, like super effective for capturing those initial visual ideas. Now, moving on to monochrome, which is all about showcasing a model in a calibrated tone, right? It's like stripping away colors to really focus on form and figure. The applications here, it's all about examining shapes and keeping things simple and uncluttered. Oh, and a little tip, less visual distraction, so you can really zone in on what matters. And then we have Raytraced. This mode, it's rendered with cycles, and it's like inherently real-time rendering. Way better than just the basic rendered option. You've got this like Arctic vibe, right? It's this icy, neutral show with soft lighting, super minimal, like really popular for architecture. So what's the deal? No color at all, you know, just soft light, chill vibes, those delicate shadows. They're just there to like enhance the form and volume, right? Now moving on to the ghosted look. Wow, so it's this semi-transparent model, right? Perfect for peeking inside without having to like cut anything. You can check the insides of structures, super handy. Plus you can see those layers stacked up, which is just neat. And then there's wireframe. Oh man, this is the quickest, lightest mode you can get. Just lines like everywhere. Best for heavy models, you know, great for checking out topology. And of course, all those CAD projects, right? So yeah, that's what we're working with. Hey, so like if you find the channel's content super helpful, you should totally subscribe. And don't forget to, you know, like and comment too. It's like really important for helping the channel grow. All right, so now that we've got the display settings down, let's dive into the second part, materials. This is where our models like totally come to life, you know? They really start to take on their real world appearance. Okay, so where do we open the material editor? Right, so for creating and managing materials in Rhino, we have a couple of ways to go about it. First method, right? So you go to the layers window, you click on the materials section, and then like you assign a material to a layer. And here's the cool part. Every object in that layer gets the same material. All right, so here's the second method, right? When you like select an object and head over to the properties panel, you know, specifically into the material section, it kind of defaults to asking, do you want to get the material from the layer? But like, hold on, you can totally switch that up. You can create a special material just for that object. So check this out. If you want your objects to share a common material layer, you go with the layer option. But if you want to give a specific object a different material, then like use the properties option. Let's dive into it, right? We're talking about the different types of materials in Rhino. So like what exactly does Rhino offer you? I mean, seriously, it's like a treasure trove of ready-made materials. Each one has its own like unique application. This part is super crucial, you know, it helps you make the right choice for your surface material, and trust me, it really makes your models look so much more realistic. All right, so like metal, right? This material is like super amazing for creating that real metal look with strong reflections and, oh my gosh, those distinct highlights. I mean, think about it. Common examples, you've got stainless steel, aluminum, copper, and chrome. Pretty cool, huh? But like, here's the thing, metals don't actually take on color. You know, it's all about the tone and the intensity of those reflections changing. So when you're setting up your metal, you got to pay attention to a few key settings. First, there's the color like. You can tweak that metal tone. Then there's roughness, which controls how rough the surface is. Like the rougher it is, the more matte it gets. And don't forget about bump texture. That's what gives you that realistic surface texture. Like we're diving into this whole world of plastics, right? We're talking about how they can look from matte finishes to like semi-glossy vibes. Super cool examples include, you know, ABS, PVC, and resins. These materials, they totally soften the light diffusion, and you can actually control how the surface reflects light. So like when you're setting up for plastics, you got to remember these key settings. Color, you're picking the main color, obviously. Hue, reflectivity, that's all about how light bounces off the surface. Hue, clarity, we're talking about how clear it is and the quality of light scattering. For you, transparency, this is for your clear plastics, how much light passes through, you know? All right, so here's the scoop on this double material thing, right? It's all about simulating materials that have like two different surfaces or layers. So picture this. You've got a material that's got color on one side and then like a totally different reflection on the other side. And the applications, oh man, they're super cool. You can use it for double-sided fabrics, sticky surfaces, or even layered materials. Now here's the kicker. This material actually takes in 2 input materials, which is pretty wild. It lets you combine both of them on a single surface. Emission, right? This material, it literally produces its own light. And when you combine it with Raytraced, oh man, the results are just super captivating. You can use it in so many ways, like for LED lights, displays, those glowing panels, and even linear lighting. Now, if you're looking to tweak the settings for emission, you got to pay attention to a couple of key things. First, the color, that's the light's hue. And then there's the intensity, which is all about how bright that light's going to be. Like blend, right? It's exactly what it sounds like. You've got this material that combines 2 different types. So, for example, you could have like 50% metal and 50% plastic. Pretty wild, huh? And the applications, oh man, you can use it for transitional surfaces or like weathering effects, like making stuff look aged, you know? Now, there are some key settings you got to keep in mind. Material 1, material 2, and then there's the blend percentage, which is basically how much of each material you want in the mix. Okay, so like if you need complete control, right? Custom is totally the best option. It lets you tweak every single feature and layer of your materials. I mean, seriously, how cool is that? So check out these important parameters: reflectivity, roughness, transparency, and bump. You can even use different types of maps for things like diffuse, bump, roughness, and more. It's just so versatile. Honestly, this option is super recommended for professional and unique materials. Like, you can really make it your own. All right, so let's dive into texture mapping, shall we? I mean, no matter how great your texture is, if it doesn't sit right on the model, it just won't look real. Texture mapping is basically how we spread that texture across the surface. Now, there are some common types of mapping you should totally check out: Q-planar, box, cylindrical, spherical, Q, custom UV. And here's the deal: if you're working with complex surfaces, you really need to tweak the mapping to avoid any stretching, folding, or like sagging. And here's a little nugget of wisdom. For those intricate models with high detail, UV unwrap is definitely your best bet. All right, so let's wrap this up. In this video, we learned some really cool stuff, like how to set up and customize those display modes. Super handy, right? And we got familiar with some important modes like shaded, Arctic, and technical. Pretty neat. Oh, and we figured out how to create materials. So exciting. Plus, we found out where to open the material editor. You got to know that. And then we learned how to assign materials either layer by layer or specifically to an object. That's huge. We also explored different types of materials like metal, plastic, emission, and so on. So many options. And what's this texture mapping thing? And why is it important? That's the question. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and if there's a specific topic about Rhino you want me to cover, just let me know for future videos.